prop it up. Okay. Is the sound on?
It should be.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
We are doing some questions today about studying abroad on the Instagram Live, and we hope this is recording so people can watch it later, but thanks to everyone who's here already. So I can start with introductions. My name's Gracie. I am a senior here at Miami, and I studied abroad in Luxembourg for a semester in the fall of 2020.
My name is Hannah. I am a junior, and I also studied abroad at Luxembourg, but I did the spring and summer of 2021.
So yeah, we have a lot of great knowledge about studying abroad. We're study abroad ambassadors here at Miami, so this is our job on campus, which is really fun. And if anyone in the chat wants to ask any questions, please feel free to do so. But we're just going to kind of go through some general questions about studying abroad. But if you have any specific questions, please put them in the chat and we will definitely be sure to answer them. So, okay. Should we just get started, I guess?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, sweet. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is introduction and the countries that we visited. So UDEC is really great because it's kind of in the heart of Western Europe, so we both traveled to a lot of different countries. Let's see if I can name them, the ones that I traveled to, because you can travel on the weekends. This is like mostly when we would do that. So obviously Luxembourg, I went to Germany, France, Belgium, Switzerland, Austria, Portugal, Sweden. I think that's everything. And she probably had similar ones, maybe a few additional.
Yeah,
too.
I went to all of those, and also Italy and Croatia. I'm sure there's more that I can't think of, but classes are designed so you can travel on the weekends, and it's going to a new country. It's as easy as just hopping on a train and then waiting like an hour or so, and then you're in a new country.
Yeah.
It's really that easy.
It's amazing. And you're usually with other students too, like from Miami, which is nice, but you also, like, a lot of responsibility falls on yourself to like plan everything, and you just learn a lot about yourself and about how to navigate these new cities and these new exciting places. So that's definitely one of the best things about studying abroad, is being able to travel, and not just in UDEC too, and other programs that Miami offers. There's definitely opportunities for traveling, but these are just our experiences.
Yeah, and it's really independent. I've had a lot of people ask me, like, how do you figure out where to go? And you just do. There's no, like, as long as you're back for classes on Monday, you can go wherever. There's no restrictions. It's all on you to plan it, which is a bit stressful, but you get used to it after a while, and you develop a lot of really great skills. I am really good at finding Airbnbs now.
Yes, definitely. That's a good skill for sure. So yeah, that's just an introduction about the countries we visited. We have tons of like crazy stories and memories too that maybe we can talk about a little bit later after we answer some more general questions. But these are just some things that students wanted to know previously, so we thought we would answer them again. So what are some initial proactive steps students should take now if they're interested in studying abroad? So I would say do your own research. Go to the Miami OH Education Abroad website and sort of figure out how long you want to study abroad for. If you want to go over J-term, if you want to go over the summer, if you want to do a semester, look at all of the programs that Miami offers. And if you don't like any of those, there's tons of other options, like on approved semesters or things from other universities. So there's just like, the options are limitless, and it can be a bit overwhelming, but my advice is just to do your own research and kind of narrow it down, so that when you do come in for an appointment at the Education Abroad office, you have some sort of idea of what you want to do. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I came into Miami knowing I wanted to go to Luxembourg. It was literally one of the reasons I attended this school, and so from day one, I knew what I wanted, but that's usually not the case. So it's really, we have so many programs that you can have whatever experience you want. If you want, a quick month trip to Italy with your friends where you write about all the different foods you eat, we have a program for that. If you want to stay in a foreign country for 5 months like I did, we have a program for that. It's really just on you to, figure out what kind of experience you want. Do you want like to go to a specific location? Do you want to travel with Miami students? We have options for all of those. It definitely makes our lives easier to have some sort of idea, but even if you don't, it's really easy to figure things out. There's so many options that there's bound to be one that you like.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes it is easier to talk it through with someone too.
Definitely.
So if you don't know exactly where you want to go, definitely still come in for an advising hours in study abroad office, which is where we work. You can talk to either one of us or some like our advisors who like do this for their job. But basically, yeah, if you want to like intensively learn a language, you can do that too. Like there's just so many options. Miami has like one of the highest rates of studying abroad in all universities, and so like that's just really awesome. Like so many students study abroad, and for good reason. It's like really easy to do here, and well, not really easy. It takes effort, but it's worth it because Miami has so many great programs and can get you in contact with so many great programs too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you can't find a program that Miami offers that you enjoy, we partner with some study abroad providers that offer programs to different countries. I know a lot of people who are in Scotland right now. They directly enrolled at the University of Glasgow. And they're just taking classes there for a semester, and then when they come back, all of their credits are going to transfer to Miami. So they're essentially like going to a different school for a semester, and that different school is in Scotland, and that's like such a cool opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so next one, what programs do you have for studying abroad? Like, what are the credit hours? How does that work with transferring and everything? So I know this is a big stressor for a lot of people. Like you want to make sure that the classes you're taking abroad are going to transfer to Miami classes. And in our case for Luxembourg, since MUDEC is a branch campus, it is a Miami campus, so we didn't have to worry about transferring our credits because they were all Miami classes. But I know for faculty-led trips, so over J-term or summer, those are also all Miami classes, which transfer directly to your DAR, which is really nice if you want to go on like a shorter length trip. That's really easy. But then also for like the approved programs, and like what Hannah was just saying, her friends in Scotland, like those are all going to transfer as well. So I would say all programs transfer, but if you're going to go on an approved program not through Miami, you just have to do a little bit of extra work to make sure that those credits are going to transfer to Miami classes.
Yeah, and that's not that difficult. That's basically just meeting with your academic advisor and filling out a worksheet. We really don't have many issues with classes that don't transfer. The program is really good at finding ones that do.
Yeah, for sure. And especially if you want to if you have a minor in a foreign language or something like that, that's a great way to fulfill credit hours. If you want to fulfill Miami plan, that's a great way to study abroad over faculty-led or MUDEC or just other programs. So there's a lot of different options. If you don't feel like you have enough credit hours to spare, you can definitely find a few classes that will either go to your Miami plan or something else.
Yeah, and all study abroad programs cover, I think it's the global perspectives requirement. Yeah. So you can get that done. I know MUDEC has a lot of Miami plan classes, if you have those left. Or maybe you're going to graduate early and you have a semester free. Why not spend it in a different country?
Yeah, true. But I would try to plan this maybe a little bit earlier than you'd think, because if you want to save your Miami plan credits, you're not going to want to take those in Oxford. So I would say maybe try to do this a few semesters before you study abroad. Like, don't freak out. It's okay if you don't and you haven't done that. But if you're a first year or second year, you might want to look at your DAR, look at the classes you have to take. Maybe save some Miami plan, maybe save some language requirements, stuff like that, just so you do have classes to take abroad. So that is a tip that I wish I had taken earlier because I had a lot of Miami plan done when I went to MUDEC, but it would have been nice if I had saved more.
Yeah, the general recommendation is to start planning anywhere from a year to a semester in advance, depending on what program you're doing. I filled out my MUDEC application in February, March-ish, about a year before I went. But you could apply as late as, a couple of months before. It just really depends on, your circumstances, if you want to do this in the very beginning or if you want to kind of take a last-minute risk. But definitely, if you're struggling to plan, come in for advising. We have faculty advisors who are really great at helping you with that. They want to get you abroad, so they will do everything they can to help you and come up with a schedule and a solution if you're really trying to find a way to get all your requirements done.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, so next is, what is the process for studying abroad, and what should I do to get started early that will help me in the long run? I think we've kind of touched on this already, but do your own research, come in for advising hours, and then there's actually online applications that if you go through Miami's website, or if you go through the host provider's website, if you're doing a different university's study abroad program, you can just apply directly online. And usually they're rolling applications, so you'll hear back in the next few weeks or so after you apply. But my advice would be to apply early, because so many students, especially after COVID, want to study abroad. And spots fill up pretty quickly. And I know a lot of students didn't get into the MUDEC program that wanted to because all the spots were filled. So just do it early is my advice.
Yeah. We had a wait list for MUDEC for the first time in a while. A good amount of students did actually get off the wait list, which was really great to see. So yes, but apply early. The application is not binding, so you could just submit it and then realize a couple of months later that maybe you don't want to study abroad, maybe it doesn't fit in your schedule, and so you just send the staff an email and that's it. You're not, it's not like once you click submit, you are going to that country. The applications are not too difficult. You fill out a bunch of forms, write like a couple hundred words about why you want to study abroad, and then that's about it. I think there is a minimum GPA requirement. I think it's either a 2.0 or a 2.5. So basically, as long as you have that, you'll be totally able to study abroad.
Yeah, I like to say, as long as you're in good standing with the university and you have a decent GPA, you should be able to study abroad. Like, it's not super competitive.
Yeah, they really want you to go abroad
Yeah.
because it's such an amazing experience that everyone should really try their best to do. And so they're not going to, be super selective about who can go.
Yeah, and that's why we're saying do it early so
Yeah.
that you can get a spot. But yeah, the application itself isn't hard at all. I honestly don't even really remember doing it because it was like...
I think it took me 2 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, does Miami help with passport and visa applications? Yes. Do you want to talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, sure. So I actually just renewed my passport through Miami at the beginning of the semester. It's really easy. You make an appointment online, you show up to the Global Initiatives office, you fill out some paperwork, you get a picture taken, and then they mail it in for you, and then you sit and wait until your passport comes back in. It is that simple. If you're getting a passport for the first time, or if you're renewing a passport you got when you were under 16, they help you with it. But if you are renewing a passport you got when you were over 16, that they will help you a little bit, but a lot of that is kind of on your own, in that you have to mail it, I think, but that's really about it. They'll help you with everything else. It's super easy. Again, if you just make an appointment, it's really easy.
My advice would be to get your passport now if you don't have one, because they're super backed up because of COVID. So it's taking a few months to get passports for the first time. So if you know you want to study abroad, maybe next year, get your passport now if you don't have one.
Yes, and I actually ended up expediting mine, which was a bit of an extra fee, but I got mine back only about a month after I submitted it to be renewed, which was really, really fast, because for some people it took upwards of 3 to 4 months. And especially if you're getting one renewed, you kind of want your passport back.
Yeah.
And that anxiety of having it kind of be in limbo and where is it? Where's, what the UPS do with it? Having it back is really a good feeling.
One of our fellow study abroad ambassadors, I remember she said that she got her passport on the way to the airport to go to South Korea. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that stress is just so horrible.
Especially for a lot of study abroad programs, you need to already have a passport. So for MUDEC, for instance,
Yeah.
we had to get visas, and that process of applying and getting it, you need to have a passport for that. And so that's, picking it up on the way to the airport. Can't really do that for this program.
Yeah.
Not that we'd recommend doing it for any other program.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not that difficult of a process, especially if you've done it before. Even if you haven't, it's really not that difficult.
Yeah, but Miami or the program you're going with will definitely help you with visa applications
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So don't have to worry about that.
That process for us was a little more complicated than the passport process. We had to fill out a form, and then you mail in your physical passport, and then they mail it back with the visa. I think the hardest thing I had to do was figure out how to get a money order. But everything else was really straightforward.
Yeah. Okay, the next hot topic question that a lot of people want to know is scholarships. So what scholarships are available for study abroad? And the answer is there are tons of scholarships available to study abroad. I was actually really surprised with MUDEC how many scholarships there were available. And I'm pretty sure you apply on the application for the scholarship, so you maybe have to write a few additional words. But there is a lot of money for scholarships for people studying abroad. So I know from UDEC there's a lot, and I know for a lot of other programs there are too, because I know it can be a big stressor, financially studying abroad, because you are going to spend a lot of money traveling and doing independent travel and whatever else, like spending money on food. So scholarships definitely exist.
Yeah, I actually, I got a couple from UDEC, and all I did to get them was click a button on my application, which was, super easy. Definitely helped me out a little bit. There are independent scholarships. I think there's the Family Fund, which is a really, really good scholarship. That one does require a little bit of supplemental work, but again, totally worth it. If you have any scholarships that apply to your Oxford tuition, that carries over to MUDEC, whether they're need-based, merit-based, whatever. So whatever you're paying to come to Oxford is what you're paying in Luxembourg as well. And I'm from out of state, so that definitely was one of the main reasons why I picked this program.
Yeah.
But then there's also a couple of scholarships for summer programs and winter programs and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. I know exchange and co-sponsored semesters, I believe, also take your scholarships from Oxford. So if you're going through a different institution, most likely they'll take your merit scholarships and financial aid. So that is also very nice, big reason why people do those programs. And I think for summer and J term they do have a lot of scholarships if they're faculty led, through Miami, because it is a great additional charge going not during the semester. So I know friends who have gotten tons of scholarships. I think you just probably, I don't know, I've never applied to a faculty led program, but I'm pretty sure you would probably just apply on the application like we did for MUDEC for the scholarship. So there should be a tab for scholarships as you apply. So yeah, I know that's a big question a lot of people have about scholarships and money and financially. So.
And I think the only programs where scholarships wouldn't carry over are transfer or anything you kind of do independently that's not through a Miami affiliated program, whether it's a co-sponsor or a partnership or whatever. But oftentimes you're paying cheaper rates than what you would pay here. So that can sometimes be a little bit of an added bonus.
Yeah, you just got to do your own research with stuff like that. And then if you have any questions, come into the study abroad office. We could definitely help you out because it is very overwhelming. There's a lot of options out there. But at least for what MUDEC and what we know, it's the same as Oxford tuition. So that's nice. Okay. Will the Education Abroad office provide information about the cultural norms for the various countries, or should we do that independently? So yes, there are workshops before you leave about culture shock and just things about the country you're going to. But I would also do research on your own because it is very different, obviously, living in a new country, and there are, things that are taboo that might not be taboo here, or vice versa. Fashion is different. Everything is different, and I would definitely research, like, greetings and just, like, casual, like, conversations in the language of the place you're going to. I didn't speak any of the languages in Luxembourg, but I was still able to get by because we're very lucky. Everyone speaks English, basically. But it was still nice and respectful to, say greetings in Luxembourgish to my host family or to people I see on the street, like buying bread at the bakery, So it's just respectful to do research before. But yes, Miami will have workshops about, like, cultural norms and culture shock.
Yeah, I remember leading up to our departure, we had a bunch of orientations for Munich, and one of those was about, like, the culture and kind of what to expect. But it is kind of hard to predict that. It's one thing to be told, here's how things work here, but it's another to actually get there and realize no one in Europe wears sweatpants.
Yeah.
So just be prepared. It will be shocking at first. But that's normal. Culture shock is real. But there's plenty of ways to deal with it. Learn to take these differences in stride and realize that, the world is really different, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
And kind of what Gracie said, I barely spoke a little bit of French, a little bit of German, and zero Luxembourgish. But as long as you know how to say, like, basic things like hello and do you speak English and thank you and please and any of those languages, you'll be perfectly fine. A lot of people are really, like, Europe is a really multilingual area, and so a lot of people will be able to speak at least a little bit of English or enough to be able to communicate, but it's always respectful to have that little bit of French or German or whatever language to be able to communicate back.
Yeah, and I know a lot of students that I've talked to are very anxious about the not knowing what it's going to be like over there, and just to give you a peace of mind, none of us knew what it was going to be like. Like, yes, we did research, but like Hannah said, like, you're not going to know until you get there. And I know that is so hard to hear because you want to know everything and you want to be prepared for everything, but that's just not how it works. And you're going to grow so much as a person by, being there and actually learning, like, on the ground about everything. And so don't worry about that too much before you go, because once you get there, you're really just going to dive in and learn everything you need to learn.
It's such a cool experience too. You're never gonna have anything quite like, taking French in a French-speaking country and, walking around and hearing 4 different languages spoken all the time. It's really it's so cool. It's
so cool. Like, we actually had the same host family, which is awesome. They spoke like 6 languages or something, and I was just so in awe of them. And it's just the best. It's such a cool experience. Like, everyone go study abroad because it is just so cool to, live with people who have such a different culture and backgrounds, but are still so kind and generous, and they teach you about their own culture. And I don't know, it's really cool, really, really cool. So anyway, sorry, it was kind of a tangent, but
and honestly, there's a little bit of culture shock when you come back to the U.S. too. I mean, I got to Luxembourg late January and I came back early July. So I was there for a while. And coming back and, like,
driving a car.
Driving a car. I remember sitting in the terminal at the Amsterdam airport and hearing English and being, like, so confused because I hadn't heard it in so long. Or things like coming back and like a day after, I went to a smoothie place with my sister, and we got to the front of the line, and I was like, oh, I have to order now. Oh my gosh, this is so nerve-wracking. And then I realized, like, oh, they speak English. I don't have to try to, like, speak really broken French. I can just say it, and they'll understand it. And it was such a weird feeling to be like, oh my gosh.
But, like, those experiences just give you cultural competency. That's what I like to call it. And it just gives you, like, this perspective that is so like, generous of the world, and you just see how other people live, and that just makes you more empathetic, more understanding, more educated, more, just everything. It just
Yeah.
opens your perspective a lot, but definitely culture shock when you come back.
And
as well.
cross-cultural communication is definitely an important skill to have no matter what field you're going into. And a great way to learn how to kind of, bridge that gap and overcome those barriers is through studying abroad. I mean, there were a couple times that I'd be talking with my host sister, and like we'd be speaking the same language, but she would just not understand what I'm trying to say just because like the cultures and the colloquialisms and all that stuff are just so different. So it was really interesting to kind of work around those differences.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you'll miss a lot of things about Europe when you come back.
Yeah.
There's restaurants I wish I could go to. I brought home a jar of European mayonnaise because it was really good. I do kind of miss like the train rides and the buses and just the because public transportation in Luxembourg is free, and so you could just hop on a train and just go somewhere, and that's a lot easier to do in Luxembourg than rural Ohio. Little things like that. I'm like, oh.
And I do want to mention really quickly, another big things to students that I talk to in Oxford is that they're afraid of missing out on life in Oxford by studying abroad. That's a big reason why students don't study abroad. But to that, I would say don't. Because you're going to be having so many experiences wherever you study abroad that you might get have a little FOMO, but you're going to be just living this completely different life that is going to stick with you and teach you so much that when you come back to Oxford, you're still going to have all of those friends and connections and people that you've had before. So I would say don't worry about missing out on Oxford life. It'll be back for you when you get back.
Exactly.
You have 4 years here. I just spend some time in a different place, and it's just such a unique opportunity.
Yeah, and like you might be missing out on going out with your friends and Oxford traditions, but you get to travel the country and the world and experience life in a new part of the world.
Yeah.
Things that you can't really do in Ohio, and it's just. I mean, a lot of my friends from Oxford, as much as I missed hanging out with them, they were like, no, we're really jealous of you. Because you're in a new country every weekend. Like, that stuff, there's no way to kind of get that experience anywhere else.
Yeah.
But then again, if you really don't want to leave, which is perfectly acceptable, that's why we have the summer programs and the winter programs.
Yeah.
So if you want that study abroad experience, but don't want to leave Oxford, maybe you can't leave Oxford, those are definitely open to you as well.
For sure. Definitely. Or if you feel like you truly can't with your schedule, your class schedule, go for a semester. Like, there's definitely go over J-term. I honestly wish I had gone over J-termer in the summer. Like, I thought I could only study abroad once, but no, you can go as much as you want. I wish I had done a faculty-led summer J-term.
I'm actually planning a faculty-led summer this summer.
Oh, sweet.
And it's a little bit of a different experience from Lux. It's a lot less work, but it's a program that's specific to my major, whereas music was a lot more general. So that's another thing. If you need a lot of major requirements, there might be a faculty-led program for you to get those requirements done.
Yeah.
So, no matter what your thoughts are, if you want to be out of Oxford for as long as possible, if you never want to leave, if you're a pre-med student with 90 different majors and have to get a bunch of requirements done, or if you're just kind of in your general requirements, there's something for you out there.
Yeah. For sure. And I think sometimes it takes a little nudge to be like, you should do this. So if you're listening and you haven't really thought about it that much, here's your nudge. Do it. You won't regret it, I promise. I have not heard anyone who has regretted studying abroad.
No.
It's very, very rarely happens that people regret it because it's just such a great experience.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not everything is great.
There's definitely highs and lows.
Yes.
The hardest thing for me personally was the time zone difference, and that it's one thing, I'm from out of state, so it's one thing to be 10 hours away from my family, but it's another to be an ocean away and 6 hours ahead. That was always, especially in the summer when all my friends left, my phone was silent for the first half of the day because they were all asleep, and that was really hard to deal with. But eventually, you learn how to do that. You make friends in your programs. And then when you come back and you're in the same time zone as everyone, you're like, wait, what? And it is, you kind of can't go home. in that, again, because you're abroad, you're in a different part of the world, it's difficult to, not only to manage a flight there and back, but also just to, squeeze it in somewhere. It's not really recommended. So that can be a bit difficult, especially if you're a homebody. But again, you're probably going to be really busy on these abroad programs, and, you're going to be swept up in the thrill of being in a different country, and it's definitely manageable. As long as you have a great support system. Your family is still there, your friends are still there, even if they're a couple hours behind you. But yeah, there are certainly like highs and lows to it.
Yeah. And the lows, it's like real world stress.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, I forgot to submit this assignment.
No, it's like I'm stranded in Germany.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I missed my train. I don't have anywhere to sleep tonight. I got to fix this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's just different. But it adds character, builds character.
Yeah, and honestly, those stories are like, they're fun to tell. I went to France over Easter break with my friends, and then the country closed while we were there, and we had to figure out how to get home, how to get across the country with hardly any trains running on like a Tuesday. And that was very, very stressful, but looking back, I'm like, what a day that was. It's something fun I can tell people, be like, hey, I managed to navigate across a foreign country when I didn't speak the language. And like, in most cases, like, you will figure something out. If you miss a train, get on the next one. It's really, it's not a huge deal. And it teaches you a lot of real world problems. You learn how to act under pressure and how to act really quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we kind of got on a tangent there, but we're going to go back to the next question, which is what internships or professional opportunities are there? And I think this is actually what surprised me the most, is how many professional opportunities and internships there are abroad. Like, at least in MUDEC, there's just a list of internships that you can apply to very easily, and you're most likely going to get one. So, like, I worked for a Luxembourgish website for expats, which was really cool. So I got to like write articles. Did you work for them too?
I did.
So that was just really cool. You got to go into an office and have a boss. You got to write articles and do social media, and I don't know, it's just really a really cool opportunity, and that helped me get an internship back in America when I came back, which is really cool. And also just like the professional opportunities, the people you meet there, it honestly like has helped me figure out what I want to do in my career. So that was like the one thing that surprised me the most. I was just not expecting that huge like network of people and opportunities. So I think, wherever you go, look into the internship opportunities, look into meeting people, professors, other students, whatever you're interested in, and talk to them because it will honestly help a lot.
Yeah, and going off the MUDEC internships, it's really easy to get one. You basically just send an email saying, hey, I'm interested, and like list like, here's my major, here's my resume, and then you'll get one.
Which is such a big difference from here. Like, I feel so overwhelmed trying to apply to internships here because it's kind of about like who you know, and you can't just really send an application. It's just stressful here, but at MUDEC they kind of give you a pathway and an easy in, which is really nice.
And a lot of the internships are somewhat customizable. So like, I had 2 internships actually over the summer when I stayed, and one of them I worked with this music teacher, and she said that she normally hires business students. I am an English major, I'm not a business student, and when I told her that, she said, okay, we'll have you, write blog posts and proofread, essay articles and, all sorts of things that you want to do, not necessarily, managing my social media and doing all the businessy stuff. And that was a really great experience to be able to kind of have something tailored to what I wanted to do. And there's also some independent study options if maybe... So I took 20 credit hours when I was abroad.
Gosh, really?
Yeah. So that did not leave any time for an internship, but I wanted to do something. And so I did an independent study. I wrote for the newsletter. I made really great connections that way. And it was something that didn't honestly take that much time, but still got some great experience. I got to meet some cool people, learned how to work as a team. And there's plenty of options like that if maybe you're looking for something a bit less time consuming but still want that experience.
Or if you even want to volunteer, there's lots of volunteer options. There's like a horse farm that you can volunteer at.
There's an international school
where you can volunteer at. That's a great way to get more immersed in the culture if you want to meet people that actually live there. So yeah, there's just so many opportunities. It's honestly just never ending, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and some of the faculty-led programs have, the one that I'm applying to has internships as an option, and international work experience looks really good on a resume. I mean, you can't really beat that. Again, it's that cultural communications and, that global perspectives and all that fun stuff.
A lot of faculty-led programs are like experiential learning too. I know one of our like fellow study abroad ambassadors worked in hospitals and had that experience. So that's also a great thing to talk about in, professionally, whatever you end up doing. So there's just never-ending options. So that's one thing that really surprised me about studying abroad. It opens a lot of doors, really. So hopefully that helped. And then the last sort of question we have was, what were your favorite things about studying abroad / your favorite places that you visited or any memories that you made?
So I already mentioned this story, but one of my favorite memories is getting stuck in France when the trains weren't running because the country closed. I remember we woke up at 5 a.m. and we were supposed to be back in Luxembourg at 3 p.m. and we get to the train station at 5:30 and our train isn't there. And we're and we had bought Eurail passes, but the app wasn't working, so we couldn't load any tickets. And we were a solid 8 hours away from Luxembourg. And you can't rent cars in Europe because we don't know how to drive over there because it is a little bit different. And so we were what are we going to do? And it was just as long as we get to Paris, we'll be okay. As long as we get to Metz, we'll be okay. So it was such a long day, but it's one of my favorite memories because, what are the chances of that happening? How many people can say they've been stuck in a foreign country during a pandemic?
Yeah.
It, again, helped me develop a lot of skills, acting quickly under pressure and staying calm. But yeah, there's a lot of other really good memories. So a staple of MUDEC is the study tour, which is basically you take a class and then you spend a week in a different country. The trip is almost entirely paid for by the school. I think you have to pay for we actually didn't have to pay for transportation, but in most cases you do. Transportation and then food, occasionally, and then that's it. And so for our study tour, our entire class, my entire cohort went to Croatia for a week. We got to go hiking. We saw some absolutely beautiful national parks. Some of the pictures I took, they look like stock photos. They don't look like they're real. We went to a winery. We went to all sorts of really fun places for a whole week. It was beautiful. One of the highlights of my semester. I think you went to Berlin, right?
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Berlin was the study tour that I went on, and that very, surprised me a lot because that was one of my favorite places I went. The history there was amazing. I was taking a Cold War class, so it was very fitting that we went there. And we went to, museums, and we went on a bike ride all throughout the city. We went to this, treetop huge park, and that just showed the beautiful German forests. We went to amazing restaurants. We had free time to go around Berlin. It was truly just a very special place. The art that was there, the history, the people were so interesting. Really a really cool week, really fun week. That was one of my favorite things I did. And another story that I wanted to share was this is just so crazy, but we were supposed to go to Switzerland, but Switzerland closed down, so we couldn't go there. And it was the Thursday before of the weekend, and we were supposed to leave Friday. And so Switzerland was closed, and we were okay, what are we gonna do? So we were okay, let's go to Austria. So we booked overnight trains to Austria. We went to through the night, so we had 4 stops. So we'd wake up at 1 a.m., take a train until 3 a.m., wake up at 3 a.m., and then we eventually got to Salzburg at 8 a.m., just absolutely exhausted, but pushed on. And once we were in Austria, we went to Berchtesgaden National Park, which is like a short bus ride away from Salzburg, and it was just insanely beautiful. Like what she was saying about the stock photos, we went hiking, and we went, like, it was snowing, and we were just so shocked by that. We took this like incline thing up, and it was dry on the ground, and then we went up all the way in the mountains, and it was snowing, and we were just like, what is this? And then we went to Innsbruck, and we went paragliding, and it was just like so surreal because we had planned none of it. All of it was last minute, and I was just remember like paragliding, like just being up in the air, like just being like, what in the world is going on? Like, this is just absolutely insane. So that was a really fun story because it was just so last minute and it was so unexpected. But my favorite things that we did were outside. Like, I love the outdoors, but also because of COVID, a lot of indoor things were closed. So I loved, I went kayaking in Sweden, which was really cool. I also went kayaking in Switzerland. I went surfing in Portugal, like hiking everywhere. Just a lot of fun, like outdoor activities, which made my experience really awesome because I loved to see the nature just in all these gorgeous places. So
yeah, we did a lot of hiking. There's like a hike in the southern part of the country. We hiked into 3 countries, which was really cool.
That's cool.
Luxembourg is a beautiful country. Whenever we had a free afternoon, we just go for a hike. I also actually went to Salzburg, kind of impulsively. We were going to go to Munich, and then we realized that tickets to Salzburg were like €20 more, so we were like, we might as well just go for it. And it was my favorite place that I visited. We only had a day, so we had to go very, very quickly, but it's so beautiful. The weather was amazing. It was a weekend before I left, so it was like, we have to end on a big note. We went to the fortress that overlooks the city.
Oh, yeah.
So pretty.
So cool.
Had a lot of fun, had a lot of really good memories from that trip. Another one of my favorite places was Sweden, which I really wanted to go, but I just didn't think it was possible. And then one day I came home and my roommate was like, hey, I just booked a ticket to Sweden. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I booked one too, and then we just went. And it was so much fun, that country. I don't know what it is about it, but it just, like, I loved being there.
The culture, the people, it's just so fascinating. It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And when you look on a map, you're so far up north, it's insane.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm near the freaking, like, North Pole. Like, it's so surreal.
It's cold, but, like...
Yeah. The Abba Museum in Sweden was amazing.
We did not get to go to that, unfortunately. It was closed, but we went to the ice bar, which it's a bar entirely made of ice.
So
you wear these special coats and special gloves, and the drinks are like $30 each, but it was so much fun. And even just kind of walking around, like, it's a really cool country.
Very cool. You're right, something about it is
like I would move
really
there. I really would.
Yeah, for sure. There's honestly a million more memories, but Luxembourg itself was amazing. We went to these castles the very first few weeks as like orientation, which was so cool. I loved the Museum, art museum, like the Museum of Modern Art was really cool because I was taking an art history class, so I went to that museum. I went to a ton of other museums. Luxembourg is a very small country, but it's full of expats, which is really cool, so there's a lot of diversity, a lot of people from all over the world to meet, which is really interesting and fun. Just a great public transportation system.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Great food, like, just really... cool place. And
Luxembourg City is great for, like, you know, a casual day out. There's a lot of shopping. It's a very wealthy city. So there's like this one street that has like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Rolex, just one after another. But it's fun to walk around. There's a lot of really good restaurants. There's some really cool museums. There's a couple of like parks, and like there's this neighborhood called the Grund that's like, it looks like it's built into the side of a cliff. It's really picturesque. It's really nice. And because the public transportation is free, like there were a couple of weekends, especially over the summer, where I just didn't have things to do, and so I would just get on a bus and be like, where are we going today? And then I'd get off, and then I'd walk around, and then I'd just be like, okay, this is pretty, time to go back. And it was that simple. I only had to pay for like food. So that's super, super convenient. There's this region Luxembourg's a little Switzerland. It's the Muellerthal region. That's where most of the good hikes are. We did one. It was like 8 or 9 miles. And I was feeling it the next day, but it was so pretty. We hiked this little waterfall. We got to just get some good, like, blow off some steam, have some fun with each other. So if you're a hiker, there are plenty of opportunities for you.
Yeah, you can tell the Luxembourg just puts a lot of effort into making its communities nicer, stronger. There's a lot of cool like festivals, and there's just constantly stuff going on that I just remember, like, outside of the chateau, which is where all the classes are, there was just always like a festival or like food or kids running around, or the community was very strong there, which I really appreciated because it was easier for us to get involved. Everyone was so nice, like just a really cool place, very unique place. Most people don't even know where Luxembourg is. When I told them I was studying abroad there, they were like, what is that? Is that in Germany? Yep, everyone always thinks it's in Germany, but just a really amazing experience. Obviously, we've sat here and talked about this for the last hour. This is like our jobs. Like, we freaking love talking about this. Yeah. So, yeah. But does anybody have any questions? I know we said that to ask questions at any point, but I don't see any on the chat. But if anyone has any questions just about anything, like, we know a lot about the other programs too, not just MUDEX. So if you have any questions about like faculty-led or exchange programs or anything like that, like, please put it in the chat. I don't know. Do you have anything else to talk about?
Yeah, just we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like because I know that as the semester winds down, people might be thinking like, well, when do I want to go abroad? Please just come talk to either one of us or an ambassador or a faculty advisor. Like, there are so many great programs, and like I can guarantee that no matter what sort of like whatever's holding you back, we'll find some way to get around it. Like, it's such an amazing experience. I think you mentioned this earlier, but I've never heard of anyone come back and say that I do not wish I had done that. Like, even the lows, they help you kind of, you grow into yourself. I am definitely a different person. Like when I came home than when I flew over there.
Sure. Yeah. So our drop-in advising hours are 2 to 4 from Monday through Thursday in 214 Macmillan Hall. And this is also like online if you want to. Yeah,
and you can schedule appointments. I know that with the Thanksgiving break and finals week, and our hours might be a bit different. But you can feel free to reach out anywhere. You can email the Miami OH email. I don't know if messaging this account would be effective, but just pop in, be like, hi, I want to talk to an ambassador, I want to talk to an advisor. We everyone wants as many people as possible to go abroad. It's such a great experience. And no matter what sort of, what you're looking to get out of it, we'll have an option for you.
Yeah. I hope this helped. If anyone was listening and you're not sure about whether you want to study abroad or not, do it. Mm-hmm. Take the risk. Take the plunge. Just do it. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, well, there's bad things that happen, but
be smart about it. I mean,
yes.
I remember over the summer we had a couple people get pickpocketed, but we also had someone leave their backpack on a bus, and then 2 weeks later they got it back because someone found it on the bus and gave it to the bus company, and then the bus company called him. So you never know,
just use your intuition and your basic.
Stay smart.
I mean, I felt safe the whole time I was over there, which is really amazing. But
yeah, especially in Lux, it's a really safe country.
Yeah. Do it. I hope we convinced you.
Yes.
But if there are no questions, I guess we can just hop off. How do you even tell if there's questions?
I'm not sure either.
Okay, I don't think there's any questions. But how do I do this? I don't know how this works. Okay, yeah, wait. I think we're gonna log off now. But thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for listening.
And I hope you study abroad.
Yes.